Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone 13 Pro Max actually ended up coming out and being officially released, so let's go and compare that camera against the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Now, what I can tell you is that for sure the 13 Pro Max is the better camera. You're getting bigger sensors, you're getting, way better just camera quality overall. However, there's a lot of similarities. The actual camera sensors are the same, on both. So you're getting wide telephoto and ultra-wide sensors on both the 13 Pro Max and the 11 Pro Max. You're missing the LiDAR sensor on the 11 Pro Max, which really doesn't affect camera quality, and you're getting the same video resolutions on the front and the back. So you can film in both 4K at 60 on the back and on the front of both of these cameras. So those are some big things to keep in mind. On top of that, some minor things. I mean, you do have cinematic mode on the 13 Pro Max, which is essentially like portrait mode for video. I really like it. I think it's awesome. But the 11 Pro Max still has a lot of capability too. They both have portrait modes, they both have panorama modes, different things like that. And the camera UIs are very, very similar on both as well. So in terms of that, those are the main differences. Now, in terms of this comparison, the iPhone 11 Pro Max photos will be on the left, the iPhone 13 Pro Max photos will be on the right. And starting off with this first photo, I'm already kind of seeing some differences. I immediately saw that the 13 Pro Max photo looks a lot more sharper, and it looks the colors look a little bit more punchier. If I go ahead and zoom in a little bit, so if I zoom in here, and that's kind of the same on both, you can kind of see that there is a little bit of a difference. It's kind of hard to tell maybe over the screen, but you can kind of tell if I increase my brightness, there's a little bit of a difference. The background seems to be kind of blurred out the same, but it does look like the 13 Pro Max blurred out a little bit more like in this little area versus the 13 Pro Max or 11 Pro Max in the same area. And I mean, both of them look pretty good. If I go and look in this bottom corner, pretty much the same thing. So I think both of them look very good. I think the 11 Pro Max though doesn't look quite as good as the 13 Pro Max, but this is just the first photo. If we go and make our way to the next photo, this one really doesn't demonstrate too much, and I don't know why with the 11 Pro Max I was zooming in so much, but again, I tapped to focus on both of these sensors, so it's not like one I opt autofocus or anything, and the background seems to be pretty much the same type of blur. I will tell you the 11 Pro Max photo looks a lot more brighter in color this time around, where the 13 Pro Max looks a little bit more, I guess, darker, not necessarily sharper, because if you look at the top, actually it may be a little bit sharper too. If we go and zoom into this little portion down here, one thing I've been saying with some of these older iPhones is there's a lot more noise even in these types of conditions, and you can see with the 13 Pro Max, it did a better job, I think, at kind of removing some of that noise and kind of evening out some of these colors. With the 11 Pro Max, it's not really the case, so keep that in mind, but I think both of these photos look fairly good for the most part. Now this next one was actually kind of interesting on both because both of them look pretty much the same. Now I do think that between these two, I kind of took them at different locations, which is kind of funny. They were taken at the same time and everything, but you can see this dark one was probably over here, but it's totally okay. You can see that the colors look very good on both. With the 11 Pro Max, I'm actually pretty, surprised how well this color looks on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. But I do think, like I've been kind of showing before, with the 13 Pro Max, the photos look a lot more sharper. So if you look here, if you look something like here, for example, I mean, it does look a little bit more sharper and I guess punchier on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, but the 11 Pro Max photo still looks very, very good. So I don't have a preference here, but both of them still look very good in my opinion. Now this next photo, I pretty much went to the worst lighting condition I could find. So I just literally went into some really bad lighting condition and I took this photo. And between both, I definitely do think that the 13 Pro Max looks a little bit better. The colors look a little bit more even out, but the 11 Pro Max looks a lot more yellow. It looks like it took that huge yellow effect and just pretty much blasted it all over, where the 13 Pro Max looks a little bit better. Now, if I go ahead and zoom into this little portion here, if I go zoom in here, again, I do think that the 11 Pro Max didn't do as good of a job at kind of removing the noise on this photo. Even though I was closer to the subject, I had to kind of zoom in a little bit more, but it does look better on the 13 Pro Max. So in this photo, I'll probably give it to the 13 Pro Max as well. Now these photos are very interesting. It doesn't look super crazy, but I pretty much zoomed in here, pretty much bad lighting condition like I mentioned. I really don't notice that big of a difference here. It looks a little bit more darker here, but both of them look fairly good. I think it looks a little bit better on the 11 Pro Max, to be honest. The colors look a little bit more brighter. But one thing I want to direct your attention to is right here. So if we go and make our way over to this little section, for some reason, I don't know why it's always flip-flopping. You can see that the 11 Pro Max, again, I tapped to focus on the same spot. It does look like the 11 Pro Max looks a little bit better here. The 13 Pro Max looks a little bit more, I guess, washed out. I'm not too sure why this happened. Again, I took these photos at the same time. Maybe the focus went and autofocus back to this specific spot on the 11 Pro Max, but typically what I've been seeing is the exact reversed situation. So most of the time the 13 photos look better than the older ones, but in this case that's actually kind of interesting that the 13 Pro Max looks much more washed out, where the 11 Pro Max looks a lot more in focus. So zooming out of this photo again, we can make our way over to our next one, and pretty much the same thing. This is just, looking at the curtain. I don't really notice that big of a difference, so we're just not even going to look at that. Now, this specific photo, I noticed this yesterday too with my 12 Pro Max comparison. These are some of my favorite photos to take, but with my iPhone 13 Pro Max, because it kept switching to that macro mode automatically, I was not able to go and take this photo at that time. Now, since then, Apple has apparently fixed it, but that doesn't make this situation when I had to go and take this photo any easier. And this was something that was very, very annoying. So you can see it did a good job at kind of keeping the background in, which was the exact opposite thing that I wanted. So I can't sit here and bash this photo too much because Apple has fixed it. But I have noticed that with the iPhone 13s, 13 Pros, those photos look very, very good. So if you're in the market and you want to see which specific photo is going to look better, the 13 Pro Max is definitely going to look better overall, but the 11 Pro Max photo still looks very good. And if I compare the 11 Pro Max photo to the 13 photo, I'm pretty sure the 13s would look way better. Now this next one was of portrait mode, and I'm going to be honest, both these photos look very, very good. They both support portrait mode for animals, which is good. So if we go and kind of zoom in to get the same type of experience on both, I don't really think there's a crazy big difference. You can see with the 11 Pro Max though, there's a lot more, sunlight going up here, even though I took them pretty much the same time. You can see that it didn't kind of even out the colors. You can kind of tell one side is a little bit more brighter than the other one, whereas on the 13 Pro Max it looks a lot, more in focus, and it looks a lot more evened out. So if we go and zoom into this little section here, I think it looks a little bit better on the 13 Pro Max, but if you have to zoom in this much, it probably wasn't that big of a deal to begin with. You could see up top that the background is fairly similar on both, and one thing I've been seeing is the 13 Pro series does a good job at kind of blurring out some things that may be the background. You can see this is still completely in focus, with the 13 Pro Max pretty much, blurred it out a little bit. You can see this section too, pretty much the same exact thing. If we go and look at the stem up above, you can see very similarly the iPhone 13 Pro Max blurred out this specific, little section of the leaf, whereas the 11 Pro Max pretty much kept that top portion in focus. So again, I think portrait mode is a little bit better at determining what is blur and what isn't blur on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So that's always good. It still needs some improvement, but I think it's definitely getting better. Now these next photos are pretty much me demonstrating the different camera modes on both. So this is the wide angle lens, this is zooming in all the way, and this is it zooming out all the way, and they both have the same type of camera quality and type of capability. But one thing that I'm kind of saw with these photos is with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, it's a little bit more blued out. Seems like a little blue hue going on with the iPhone 11 Pro Max. 13 Pro Max looks a lot more brighter, and I definitely do like the way this one is going in my opinion. So finally, this last photo, nothing crazy. I just took a picture of whatever this was, and I haven't really been able to see those crazy big of a differences until I zoom into this little portion. So I want to direct your attention right here on the 11 Pro Max and right here on the 13 Pro Max. So you can see that between both, you're definitely getting a much more less noised out photo on the 13 Pro Max than on the 11 Pro Max. You can see how much noise is going on with this specific photo. I mean, it's not crazy. I mean, it's expected on these older phones, but you can see that if you're trying to get the sharpest image of all time, the 13 Pro Max is definitely going to be better. Even this one has noise in it, but it's definitely a lot less noise compared to the iPhone 11 Pro Max. But I will tell you, if you're not zooming in this much, I don't think anybody's zooming in that much to be honest, both these photos look pretty good. A little bit more, I guess, yellow on the iPhone 13, on the 11 Pro Max, but both of them look good, and I don't really think there's one photo that looks way better than the other one until you start zooming in. So both of these are very similar, and to be honest, that's kind of how I'm seeing this whole entire comparison. I really do think that the 13 Pro Max camera is the better one, but I do think the 11 Pro Max has still a lot of capability. If you don't care about the small little things here and there, you're pretty much going to be having a very similar experience on both these phones. Yes, the 13 Pro Max is better, but I still think the 11 Pro Max is still a very good phone for sure. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.